right, so today what we're going to do is we're going to do 8-1. We're going to do only part 1. We're not going to do the whole thing. We're going to just do part 1, and we're going to look at just positive exponents today. Right? Now, when I introduce this to you, I'm not going to give you just a bunch of rules to memorize. I'm going to kind of teach you how these rules work. Okay, so if ever you forget them, you can kind of generate the rule. So first of all, let me take a look at this. If I have 3 to the second power, that means there's 3 what? Or 2 what? There's 2 3s. So it'd be 3, and then I'm going to put a dot, 3, and then you'll notice I have a star. Okay, and then 3 cubed is what? 3 3s. So it's 3 times 3 times 3. Okay? So the 2 you'll notice is the exponent, and the 3 is the base. Okay? The 2 means that there's 3 of them, and then the other one there's 3 3s. Now, if I brought this together, how many 3s are there? There's 5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's multiplication amongst all of them. So it's 3 to the 5th. Okay? Now, this is the long way. This is not how you're going to do your homework. It's not how you're going to do it. Okay? I'm going to give you the short way. I'm going to give you a rule, but we're not there yet. Okay? We'll generate in a little bit. Okay, let's look at this next one. I got 7 to the 3rd power, so what does that mean?
3 7s.
Yes, there's 3 7s. So 7 times 7 times 7, and then 7 to the 5th. So then there's 7. How many 7s are there altogether?
10. No, 8.
There's 8. Now make sure when you make your numbers that the bases are big and the exponents are little. Make sure that you do that, okay? It's really important that you do it that way. All right, let's keep going. And let's look at the rule, right? If I go back and take a look at the first one, what do you think the rule will be? If I go from the very first thing, like this, and I go to the answer, what do you think the rule is? Yes.
Add the exponents?
Yes, I'm going to add the exponents. So I'm going to come down here, and this is how you'd actually do your homework. Okay, it's 3 squared times 3 to the 3rd. This is the rule. Okay, so when you do your homework, you just put 3 to the 5th and circle it.
Much easier.
It is much easier, but the problem is kids memorize the rule, and then when they take their ACTs, they don't remember. Okay. Let's go to the next one. This ends up being 7 to the, be 3 plus 5, and I get 7 to the 8th. Now you'll notice that I put a little work in there for right now. And the reason why I did is so that you know the rule. Okay? Now if you go to the next slide, this is how you'd actually do your assignment. Right? You're going to write down the original problem. And I end up with, notice that the bases are the same. This is going to be 5 to the
1 and
10th. And the reason why is this. You're correct.
Oh, yeah.
It's 5, right? And if there's no exponent there technically is a 1 there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Okay? So this is all you need to show on your homework. And this is how I want you to do it. You don't have to write all those things out. All you need to do is go 5 to the 10th and move on. Okay? Let's move to the next one. Notice that these are in parentheses. Okay? So I'm going to go parenthesis, and it's going to be a 7, and it's going to be to the 3rd power. And the reason why is I've got a 2 here, and if there is no exponent, there technically is a little 1 there. So 2 plus 1 is your 3. And if there's parentheses, keep the parentheses. Okay? And then let's take a look at this one. This ends up being x to the 9th. Okay? Questions on this rule so far? Now, I'm going to go off to the side, and I want you to write something down. This is key for when we use exponents. This is key, so make sure that you write this down. If I have -2 squared, and I have -2 in parentheses squared, they mean 2 different things. Right? And kids mess up on this all the time. right? First of all, if I have negative 2 not in parentheses squared, the 2 belongs to just the 2. It does not belong to the negative. So I'm going to put a negative because it's out front, and what repeats is the 2. So it's 2 times 2, and this ends up being negative 4 because the 2 repeats, not the negative. It's like it's a bumper. It just goes along for the ride. Doesn't affect how many people are in the car. The 2 on the outside of the parentheses, you'll notice that the 2 affects both the negative and the 2. So it's negative 2 times negative 2, and my answer is
4.
4. Notice that there's a difference. Okay. Now, let's do one more example. Let's say I have negative 2 cubed. Okay? Again, the exponent belongs to the 2. So I'm going to put a negative out front. And how many 2's do I have? 3. So I'm going to go 2 times 2 times 2, and I get what? Negative 8. Because 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. If I have negative 2 in parentheses cubed, it's negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, and what's my answer? It's negative 8. You go, well, Mrs. Levick, the answer is the same. It is. But how you get there is different. Okay? So even though the answers are the same, you gotta be really careful with how you do things. Right? Let's say the top one is kind of like I'm going to go to the Twin Cities and I'm going to use Highway 52. This one I'm going to go to the cities, but I'm going to go through Wisconsin. Am I getting to the same place?
Yeah.
Getting to the same place, but how I got there was different. So you just got to be aware that those exponents mean something and those parentheses mean something, and you can't just drop it. Okay? Yep.
So on our homework, do we have to show our work for this problem?
You do not have to write it all out unless I ask you to. Okay, but if I have parentheses,
Then you probably should.
you better at least include the parenthesis or it means something. Because what students will do is they'll do a problem like negative 7 in parentheses cubed, and they'll drop the parentheses and go, what's the big deal? Well, there is a huge deal. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it really comes into play later, and you'll see it more as we go. All right, good question. Let's move on. This is simplify, and you'll notice that these look a little bit different. All right? You'll notice I have an exponent, and do you see these exponents are right next to each other? Okay, and I don't remember the rules, so here we go. I'm going to take 5 squared. This is a present, a little package, okay, and I'm going to have 3 of them. So I'm going to go 5 squared times 5 squared times 5 squared. So what's in the parentheses is my gift underneath the tree, and I've got 3 of them. Right? Now, use the rule that you just learned. What do you do with the exponents? So I get 5 to the 6. Don't hang on to a rule yet. Okay, go to the next one. Right? How many packages of n to the 7th do I have?
2.
So n to the 7th times n to the 7th, it gives me n to the 14. Okay, I'm going to do one more. I'm going to go negative 3 in parentheses to the 5th power, and how many am I going to have? I'm going to have 3. So I get negative 3 to the 15th power. Now, one person asked me in my last class, you've got parentheses, but what are those little thingies there? Those are brackets. They mean the same thing as parentheses, and you saw them in order of operations. They just like to change things up. Rather than doing 2 parentheses, they'll throw a bracket in there. It doesn't mean anything different than a parenthesis. Okay? So now let's take a look at the rule. It's called the power of a power property. Take a look at the first problem. If I was going from the original problem to the answer, what did I do? I multiply the exponents. So whenever you have two exponents right next to each other like this, all you do is you multiply. So I'm going to show you the work. This is what you would just have in your notes. So it's 5 squared times 3, so it's 5 to the 6th. So when you do your homework, you would write the original problem and you'd write the answer. The only reason why I'm putting the middle part in there is because I want you to remember the rule in your notes. Okay? Let's take a look at number 2. It'd be n, 7 plus 2, and you get n to the 9th. Or 14th, sorry, blew up. It's times, not add. Sorry, blew up. 14. There we go. Okay, and then the last one, I need parentheses because it has parentheses. It's 5 times 3, which is negative 3 to the 15th power. Okay, that's it for today. Questions? All right.